Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is Spencer MacIntyre. Spencer was an accountant. He did y'all's taxes, everybody. Turned actor. And he has a really interesting story because he started as a child actor and then switched into the, respectable career of doing idiots' taxes like myself. And then realized, I think I want to get back into acting again. And oh my gosh, has he ever. We recorded this episode quite a long time ago. I've known Spencer for a while. And it's funny when I reached out to him to be like, hey, your episode's coming up. Send me a headshot and your profile. He said to me, oh my gosh, I am a completely different actor than what I was when we recorded that. And I remember so vividly after we stopped recording, and this happens all the time with my beautiful guests, we end up chatting away, and he was talking about how, he was having a tough year, hoping to get into the union, finding it so hard to get into the union. Excuse me, if you turn on your TV now, you will see Spencer MacIntyre on a heck of a lot of commercials right now. He's on the McDonald's commercial up here in Canada that I see all the time. And ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to say he is a full union member of ACTRA. Way to go, Spencer. He is such a wonderful human being. Please enjoy his incredible story. Please enjoy Spencer MacIntyre.
It's so interesting about the comfort in front of the camera, because I notice a lot of new actors. That's what they say. Like the big thing is to get over is like, oh, I'm in front of the camera. Oh my god! Like I've even had people that I've just asked to read for me on a self tape, and like I don't no, I can't even be in the room with a camera. Like what are you talking about? But which I mean, for me personally, it's like there's I have that unique advantage where. I kind of grew up with that. Like I did acting I was an actor from age 6 to about 13, and then it petered off with a couple of things. But so like doing it from a young age, it just feels kind of normal, I guess. And I don't know. I don't know. I just feel very comfortable. So it's really interesting to me. And then like sometimes you'll have those people who, when you like tell someone that you're an actor and they're just like, oh my god, or like there's all those like there's like 3 or 4 different reactions people have. It's like someone's like, okay. Sometimes they're just like, oh, and then other times I've had especially with my family overseas, or like just people overseas, it's just like oh, ooh, you're an actor, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, can you just read this for me? And then they're like, oh, no, I could never do that. like they're like looking down on you almost, and then there's like, oh wait, no, actually what you do is way too much for me. So yeah,
I find there's no neutral reaction to the comment, oh, let you when you tell somebody I'm an actor.
Yeah,
it's so rare to have somebody be, oh cool, that's really neat.
Yeah, I've only ever had that in LA. Yeah, but it's an actual job there. That's the difference.
Yeah. It's not just a frivolous whim or a pity. Oh, what have I seen you in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What? Oh my god. Yeah. Like I've had that conversation. That was the only time when I was down in LA. It was like I didn't realize it until it happened, and I was like, yeah. And someone was like, well, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm an actor. I'm like, oh, okay, film or theater, and then just. Nothing. I asked my friend who I was staying with, and it was like, what's the deal? I was like, oh, it's a job here. That's why. He's like, yeah.
And you're among, it's funny because I think a lot of jobs, when you're among peers, that's the response. So I think about when I say, I'm a doctor.
Right.
It's never as dramatic as I'm an actor when people, again, it's the pity. I'm a doctor, and everyone goes, oh. Where if you're talking to somebody else in healthcare, they go, oh, cool, what kind of doctor?
Oh, yeah. No, totally.
Same thing, right? Probably, I bet it's the same with a lawyer, right? Like, oh, I'm a lawyer. Oh, cool. What type of lawyer? What type of law do you practice? Peer. I'm a peer.
There's also
We're peers.
there's also that reaction where like, I mean, I experienced this when I had the accounting firm where it's like, what do you do? I'm an accountant. I was like, oh, I have like 7 tax questions that I can just rattle off right now. Like,
see, with a doctor, it's, I have this rash. Can I just show you this rash? You're like, we are in Costco.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man. The amount of times I've been asked, like, I can't imagine like the doctor thing. That's got to be, it's the same thing with taxes because everybody needs it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just like, so everyone has questions. It's also super confusing and daunting. So it's like, yeah. And it's, I don't know, at least with the tax thing, it was a little bit weird because I'd be out somewhere and I did a lot of bartenders taxes. So they'd be like, oh, I just have these questions. I'm like, cool. So this food that we just got, it's all on you, right? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, like, oh, well, it's not free. I spent years learning.
It's a write-off. Okay. So here's the thing, and I wonder. It just dawned on me. Maybe we're onto something. The pity, oh, you're an actor, is because everyone thinks that they can also do it, as opposed to the doctor, accountant, lawyer, where there is an obliviousness. And there's also there's a level of academic achievement that like not everyone can do it. You have to have learned something from a textbook, gotten a certificate, gotten a license from the government that says, I can do your taxes. I can do your abdominal surgery.
Right.
So everyone goes, ooh, you're Where acting, it's like, oh, I can do that. But like you were saying, when you put the script in front of someone to help you read the self-tape thing. Yeah.
I think it's because it's just talking. And, or that's what it comes off as. When you're doing it right, there's I'm going to quote Futurama here because that's one of my all-time favorite shows. But there's this thing where Bender crashes into God, and it becomes this whole thing. And he's like, do just enough that people think you've done nothing at all, or something like that. And so it's like, it's kind of the same with acting. It's a light touch, right? It's like, you don't want to make it too big, and then oversell it, but you want to convince people and you want to dive into the realism of the role. So it just ends up being, it looks super natural, like super, 2 different words there, super and natural, like very natural. And then if you're doing it right. And so then it just feels like someone's having a conversation. You really want to feel like someone's there. So it just, like they're just a fly on the wall watching this thing happen.
Yeah.
So it's just like, so it feels like an everyday conversation, but so I think that's why people think they can do it. It's like the same with stand-up comedy. So yeah, it's like, you're just talking, whatever. And then you're like, no, you got to say these lines and you have to, and then you think you know how it's coming off, but it's not. Like, I don't know about you, but I have, one of my coaches has been working with this. I have a very big personality, which doesn't translate very well to the screen because it's so big. So it's like just toning it down, stop moving your eyebrows all the time, like doing stuff.
The stillness. And I think I relate to that, just being a very emotive hand talker. I come from, I say a theater background, and by theater background, I mean I did the high school plays and I was just like a very loud individual. And so theater acting is that, as you know, right? Project to the very back of the room. But I did a self-tape yesterday and I was watching it back. And I move, like you're saying, I move so much and I don't realize I'm doing it. There's such a need for stillness in film acting that I find so hard. And that, I think, is a learned skill. That is the certificate that you need to get.
Totally.
It's so subtle.
Oh. Yeah, no, it's weird because it's like it all comes in through your eyes, and that's how you have to do everything. And it is very strange. It's like the same thing. It's like converting from theater. I hear that all the time for people going from theater to screen acting. They're just like, it's so weird because in theater you're out here and you're projecting and like you want your whole body engaged, whereas like screen and you just feel, especially like. Same thing with like the big personality and like the theater. You just feel like you're doing absolutely like I feel like I should be doing more, and like but you're not. And then I watch it back and you're like, oh, okay, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm still in the learning, lifelong learning phase, whatever. Yeah. But I'm still in the phase of I was so still. I felt like I was I felt like I was doing nothing. I felt good about that. I felt like I was doing my thing. And then you watch it back and I'm like, all over. I'm still moving. Plant your damn feet.
Yes.
And stop.
Mm-hmm. It's also like, it maybe it's a little like a nervous reaction. I don't know.
Totally. Yeah. How can it not be, right?
Yeah.
How can it not be?
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, with the self-tapes, like we were talking about before, with things starting to go back in the room, you know, like with self-tapes, it's really weird because like you'll have someone zooming in sometimes and like, I don't know, you're trying to have this emotional reaction and your body doesn't really know what it's doing, I guess.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I want to connect with you through Zoom somehow. Like, I don't know, it's a totally different experience. You can't look in their eyes. Like even right now, the way we're talking, you know, it's like,
I know.
You're not actually looking in each other's eyes. So.
And so do you think that when we talked at the beginning about how being in front of the camera, especially as new actors, it can be very abrupt, it's very jarring, and being in the situation where you're on camera, but you're also surrounded by individuals on set who could not care less what you're doing. You're having to sob uncontrollably about the death of your father, and the crafty person just wants to get home, right? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Do you think self-tapes have improved that experience for new actors because we're getting experience in front of the camera, or is it still not enough?
Oh, that's interesting. I want to say it's so different, and like it's just the experience of being on set is so different than even auditioning in the room or self-taping. And like, I don't know, I think it could help new actors hone some skills for sure. Being in front of the camera, I think it's a little bit different because I feel a different type of pressure when like I feel like I have to do, I don't know, it's like when you're in the room, it's like go, okay, cool, and like then now you have time to get it right. So I guess for new actors it's great because they can get a good take, but you know, when you go in the room, you're kind of there. Like you can't do it. Like sometimes with tapes I'm like, I just can't get this one, and then it's just like it takes me like 10-15 times, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna not let perfect get in the way of good, and you know, move on. But yeah, and yeah, I don't know, that's tough to say, but you're right. It's like when you're on set, it's just like there's not, if someone pays attention to you and you did something good, like you know, because I've spent the last few years hanging around a lot of musicians and going to a lot of concerts and stuff. So when you're there, when you come off stage, people go, oh, good set. It doesn't matter if it was good, even if they saw it, doesn't really matter. It's just the reaction is always good set. And I've spent so much time around that. I was filming this TV show last year, and then the sound guy was like, oh, that's really good. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, that's not paying attention. And then I went to my friend after and told her that. She's like, they don't have to say anything to you. And I'm like, oh, right. It's just not.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think, but I mean, it's the same thing with being in the room, is like there's that instant validation. So I think maybe, oh my God, this is I feel like I've overloaded this question in my own mind. Yeah, like a new actress, I don't know. It's like they don't get that immediate reaction, and then there's a lot more is just in the ether, right? Because like when you're in the room, at least you can kind of gauge someone's reaction. Like, okay, that director hated me. And like,
all the nonverbal cues, right, from everyone.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent.
Totally.
We don't get.
Yeah, and like they don't have to, like, same thing. They don't have to react to anything. They can be like, okay, cool, next, and then you got it. You're like, it's like, what was that? I don't know what was happening there. Yeah.
So you've already alluded a bit to your history, your story, but tell me more about it. How did you go from acting as a kid? I know you had a career in accounting. You're out going to all these music shows. How did you get to where you are now?
Okay, that's okay. Where do we start with that? Yeah, so I'm
settling in. I've got my tea.
You got your tea. Okay, I'll give you some tea. as the kids say. I think that's how you use that. I have no idea. I am old.
Yeah. I'm an elder millennial and very proud of it.
Yeah. So, so I think when I was a kid, my mom was like, "Oh, you have all this energy. We need to channel this into something." And she saw an ad in the newspaper for some local talent agency in my small town, looking for actors and of all ages. So we went in, we did that thing, and I went in and I did this audition for the now defunct Air Nova airline. I don't know if you remember them. So Air Canada was like divided up into the provinces before. So this is the Nova Scotia one, and they had the big screen at the front, I guess. I don't know. I had my first time on a plane, I was 26. So, but they had a big screen at the front, and they would play like movies during the flight. So they would have a commercial in between, and then so I went out for that. I landed it, my first audition ever, and I don't know, I was just like hooked. I was like, oh my god, I got to do this. And then we just moved on to, and it was just auditioning, and I don't know, it was getting pretty good, and like I was just in love with the process. But back then it was all in person, of course. This is the 90s, and to date myself a little bit. But yeah, and then I don't know, we didn't have a ton of money, and it was like always going to Toronto from it was about, depends on how much traffic there was, but yeah, it was a long drive. So it just, it weighed on my parents financially, I think. And my dad's like pretty old school, so just wanted me to get like a regular job. And yeah, when it came time for me to go to high school, there was an art school in that I was in the district for, and I really wanted to go, but you could only get into the arts program if you auditioned in grade 9. And I begged my parents to let me audition, and they wouldn't let me because it wasn't Catholic. It was a whole thing. So I was like, okay, well, I guess this isn't going to work out, because like you always hear about all these actors who have, decades of experience, and they're like big, and they all went to art school and like acting school and whatnot. And so I just that really put a wrench in my plans, I guess. I don't know if that analogy works here, but and then I just it kind of died down. I did some moved to the city when I was like, I just dove into like the music scene, because that was like people I got along with. And I moved down to the city when I was 17, and then I just started doing that. I did a couple auditions here and there throughout my 20s, but nothing crazy. And I did a little short film with a friend, and it was weird because like I was on set, and all these actors were like, "Oh, yeah, well, what agency are you with?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm not signed. I don't really do any acting." And they're like, "Dude, you need to do this. Like, what? Like, we really..." And I really enjoyed it. I missed it, but I was really invested in like just trying to figure something else out, because I don't know, I was so discouraged from all that, I guess. Yeah, and then so I was looking for any job in the music industry, so I got this internship at this accounting firm, and I just kind of got it, and they hired me within a month, and I just worked there for 3 years. I quit because my boss and I didn't see eye to eye on some stuff, and the next year, tax season rolled around, and a few people reached out, being like, "Hey, I only really worked with you. Can you still do my taxes?" Yeah, I could use the extra cash. And so I posted something on Facebook, did about 35 people's taxes that first year, and that snowballed into up to about 700 clients by the end of, last year was 7 years of doing taxes. And I was but the pandemic forced me to go remote with everybody else. I, got rid of the office I had downtown, and I tried to move to Lithuania, which is where my family's from. I have family and friends there. And and then like a few months after I moved there, I got signed to an agency here in Toronto. So I moved back. And then last year I was like, okay, I'm getting a lot of auditions. I should probably, if I'm not going to do this now, when am I going to do it? So I just I got an offer and I made the jump and I sold my accounting firm. So, yeah. And, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, did you go to post-secondary school for accounting? Is that a thing? Wow, I feel stupid asking that question. Did you go to accounting school, Spencer?
No, I didn't.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, I mean, like the only things you can't do, like I was just doing people's taxes. So there's like 3 things you can't do without CPA designation, which is you can't. Oh my God, I can't remember them right now. My brain is just like switched off of that. So
it's Monday.
Yeah, it is Monday
and
too.
You've retired.
Yeah, retired. I did not make that much money from the sale. Yeah, but yeah. So there's like you can still do people's taxes. That's fine. It's just like you can't do like a review or audit engagement. You can't give people direct advice. So like what I would do was just like give people like, here's your options, and like here's what I've seen, all that, and like just build it up and something like that. You can't give them like you can't be like you need to do this with your taxes, and then so
cool.
Yeah. So I mean, you can go to school for it.
Yeah,
but what I was doing, yeah, a lot of people said it, like, oh, I wish, like, I mean, if you're just preparing taxes, you don't really need to. So,
cool.
Like, yeah. So
tell me about the decision to go full into acting. What prompted that, and how did that come about, mindset wise? What happened?
Yeah. So, like, I mean, yeah, it was, if I'm not going to do it, you know what? It's all those like TikTok and Instagram reels that are like, you need to like put all your effort into it. And I was like, and I was watching, did a bunch of taxes for a lot of actors, and I just see them getting all these roles, and I'm like, man, I miss that so much. And like that was such a, and I'd be like, oh yeah, here's a picture of me from the first time I was on set. And I was 6 years old. So, and it was just, yeah, I don't know. It was like, I was watching it, I'm like watching all these actors, and like, I miss that so much. And I was already getting a lot of auditions. I think I totaled it up from what was last year, 2022, and I did 190 auditions, and like this year, so like it's for the first week of February, right? And second week, and I've already done like 40. So
hell yeah.
I don't know. It feels like it's the right move, but yeah, the decision to do it was I don't know. It's more just like, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? I put a lot of effort into my accounting firm. When I first did that, I didn't have I was doing people's taxes on the side, and then I was like, yo, let's see if I can make this work. So I quit the other job I had, and I just put all my effort into that, which, I liked owning my own business, but I'm of course more passionate about acting. So if I put all my eggs in this basket, and if I made that work, like something I'm not nearly as passionate about as acting, like what else? What can we do here? It's only a matter of time, as they say.
Yeah, and I think it's hard because there's definitely 2 thought patterns. Mm-hmm. There's the people who go full in second act actor.
Right.
I had one job, now I'm fully committing to acting.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought is, if you have your 2 buckets, a bucket of accounting and a bucket of acting, and you have one foot in each one, you're going to be sliding and can't direct energy and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go whole hog into one or the other.
Yeah.
But then there's also people who say, I like having my accounting firm, I like practicing medicine, I like to whatever, because it gives me something else, so I don't desperation focus on acting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I don't want to say a hobby, but there's not the fear of this is all I have.
Right.
Do you have an opinion on that? I know it's very individual. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know people on all ends of the spectrum. I mean, personally, I had to put all my focus in one thing. Luckily, I was in the lucky position that I owned my business, so I had the opportunity to sell it. So I have enough cash flow that it's I'm not in that position where like, oh my God, I need this role, to pay my rent. But, I mean, yeah. I know, how many actors do we know that also work at coffee shops or bartend and all that, It's like I think it really depends on the person. I can't, like you said, it's very individualistic. For me, it's like I can't partition that. I know when I want to do, like, if it's commercial, it's not as in-depth, of course, all the time. But I noticed this last week, actually. I was going into an acting class, and I had to take a call because I still have a weekly call with the new owners to kind of help transition everything. And I was just like, it just took me completely out of character. And I was just like, my brain was not there anymore. Maybe, maybe we're just getting a little bit older, but you can't just like snap into it. But yeah, I don't know. I have to put all my eggs in one basket. And actually, yeah, my friend was funny as she said, because like my friend was saying that yesterday. She's like, you need a hobby. Just like all you do is you just obsess over this, and then like that's all it is. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if that's a bad thing, but I guess we'll see.
It's so individual, right? And like you were saying with the TikToks and the social media, everyone will tell you that their way is the best way and you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And I know it's not just acting. It's in literally every industry where you can go on the internet. They'll say what you're doing is wrong and that's why you're failing at this. And I have the secret if you just pay me the money and that will solve all your problems.
Yeah, there's a whole book called The Secret.
Yeah. And it's hard because you can also wax poetic about find what works for you, but truly that's the answer. Yeah. Nobody else, like, we can have advice up the yin yang, but what works for you isn't going to work for me, and et cetera, et cetera. You just have to find what works. But
oh yeah,
I feel you on the getting pulled out of character situation. I've had similar ones if I'm getting pulled in another direction. And I know it's not just the medical work, right? And I'm sure with other people, it's family and life. But I think that's where the training comes in. And maybe age, you're right. But if you're training to kind of hone that instrument, it's just like training for a marathon. You're gaining that resistant strength.
Yeah. It wasn't as easy for me to slip back into that character. I was like, oh, this is weird. Like I was focusing on this all day, and then I forgot some of the lines. And I'm like, I knew what this was like an hour ago. And then, I don't know. It's I can't imagine the medical thing. But even like just trying to think about clients I had, and I was like, what did we do for them? And then I was like, yeah, so it wasn't even that complicated. Like, I feel like it was, for me, if I had another job, it would have to be just something mindless, which, everything takes some sort of mindfulness. I mean, for me, like, because it was remote, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, a lot of it is like, for me, it's like, when you're on the phone with someone, people, especially when you're dealing with their taxes, they'd be like, you're still there? And so I'd have to make little noises to let people know that they're like, and like, you can't really do that. Like, and you can't do that while you're performing. So
you need to be a voice actor. That's video games to a T.
Yeah. Yeah. Working on my demo right now.
Yes. That's hilarious.
Yeah. But it was just like, so like there's little things I can't do. And like, even with Zoom calls, like I'd be doing little things like, no, it's not frozen. I'm paying attention. Let me listen to your story, Oh, okay. And it's just all these big reactions that you're just like, okay, cool. How's this coming across? But yeah, you can't do that on screen. That was just something, I was literally just thinking about that because we were talking about it with someone.
So funny. And I think, one, you could write a stand-up comedy sketch about that, because like, how can you not? And that makes me think of, this is a bit off topic, but how many people I've talked to, and guilty of it as well too, who think I'm so behind in my acting because I had this other job and I wasn't in the conservatory program like everyone else, and I wasted my time and now I'm here. But stuff like that, that's fodder that you can use in your acting career as a life experience, just things, right? It's just life that you've experienced. That is hilarious.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, even like it's I think there's like there's something to be said for just interacting with people.
Yeah.
And paying attention to those interactions. I'm sure, like, you dealing with patients and everything is like, okay, cool, this is how certain people react. And it's, your patients are all over the spectrum of like just humanity in general, right? And where it's like the same thing with my clients. Like some of them are artists, so it's just be always easier to connect, But yeah, there's, if you're a server at a restaurant, it's like you never know what this person's going to be like, so you have to learn to react in different situations, which is great because you're going to be working with actors and directors and people you don't know and you're not familiar with, and like, I don't know, you're going to get like thrown for a loop sometimes, like, oh, that's not what the character is all about. You're like, oh, okay.
Well, I think that develops empathy, right? And I think there's always that funny joke that people say that everyone should be a waiter or a waitress or a server at some point.
Totally.
I think, honestly, it's not just that. Everyone should have a customer service or a public-facing job at some point in their life, especially if they want to be an actor. Because how in God's name are you supposed to develop empathy if you aren't watching humanity? Right,
yeah. And it's like, I don't know, it's like you have a totally different perspective on... I don't know. It's like my family didn't have a lot of money when we were growing up, but then I would like meet people later on in life who like grew up with like in a wealthy family or something, and they were just like blown away that my parents didn't pay for school. I was like, oh, we just didn't. Or like, you've never been on a plane? And I was like, no, I just couldn't afford to do it. And like, yeah, so like that empathy thing, it's like sometimes, if you're not in a customer-facing thing, you're not interacting with everyday people, like, I'm sure there's something deeper I could dig into there if I really, really thought about it. I'm trying to, there's something there. I want to say something meaningful, a little soundbite, but it's not coming.
Take me back to your experiences as a child actor and now your experiences as a grown-up actor. What are the similarities? What's changed? What are the differences? What have you noticed?
Sure. Well, nobody cares about me anymore.
But isn't that nice?
Yeah. Well, it's like you get on set and they just like get this kid out of here because all the child labor laws that are just like always focused on you, and like they don't want this little 6-year-old kid just going away. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely, I mean, I don't regret not, like that little space of like growing up I did. And like I'm definitely more business savvy and stuff, but yeah, and okay, so like I'm getting up. That was not on topic. Yeah, so the biggest difference is so I mean, definitely when you're on set, it's a lot slower. That's for sure. Like because I think a lot of that has to do with child labor laws. Like they can only keep you on set for so long. Yeah, I don't know. It's like there's a little bit more. I'm trying to think. This is an interesting question. I mean, not much has changed. Like, well, in the 90s, everything was on film, so it was like a little bit, you just kind of had to get it. Now it's just like they don't really care because they have terabytes of just storage space for all this. Yeah, I don't even know what the biggest differences are. I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, obviously the self-tapes, that's like a huge difference for me. But I think that's more of a time thing. I don't know if that's really what you're getting at. Because like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I have less room to be big, maybe. It's like there's a certain expectation that, the kid's not going to get it. He's, or maybe there's more of a reward at the end because like, oh, wow, you did really good. And then when you're an adult, they're like, okay, cool, next,
The expectations of you are so low as a child.
Yeah, they don't care. But like, it's like, oh, wow, really good. You did the thing.
Good job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's a cookie.
Yeah. Or you just get all these yeah, I don't know. There's no, like the crew going, oh my God, he's so cute, There's like there's less validation. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. It's a very, very different being on set, I guess. It's just different feeling. I hadn't thought too much about that. And now I'm definitely going to pay more attention to it.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Coming back into it after doing your job as an accountant, has there been anything surprising about the industry for you?
Yeah. You know what? It's like, I think I have this like very business mindset. Like it's a lot, like I talked to a lot of people and they're like, oh yeah, I don't know how many things I did last week, and they don't track anything. And like, I mean, I have a whole Excel model going of just like every audition I've done, what the result was, who it was for, what the project was. It's like this whole thing. It's actually built out from something my friend Pedro taught me. He had put out a book on Amazon about like he liked to journal and stuff like that. Unfortunately he passed away in December.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah.
I am so
Pedro
sorry
Arce,
to hear that.
you might know him. He has been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But so he taught me a lot of stuff and like just like keeping track of things. But but I made my own version of it, and you know, it's interesting just like how I look at acting differently. I feel like it's more, I can approach it more as a business, which it is a business. And I feel like a lot of people they just kind of do it and hope for the best. Whereas like I'm tracking everything. I already know what the end result has to look like. So I think maybe that's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed is just some people are just totally unaware of like the tax consequences and like keeping receipts and like running it like a business. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I've noticed.
Do you think it's because of the lack of control? And with accounting and just numbers in general, I mean, I have a physics degree because I love math, because math makes sense.
It does
and
make sense,
nothing about the industry makes sense. And I love Excel, and I love data, and I love, because I can manipulate it in a way I want, and I can control it. And that is a thing I can look at to cling on to on the cliff.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Good. I'm not going.
I was waiting for you
insane.
to finish your. I was waiting for you to
my
finish your thoughts.
tirade.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's like it's so wildly out of our control. As actors, like you just send out, especially now. Like I said before, you just send out your self-tape into the ether and hope for the best. And like, especially when sometimes you get like those big ones, and you're like, oh man, I really want that, and it sits on your mind for a while. And then you're like, at least with commercials, you know, there's a callback date. You're like, okay, cool. I didn't get that. That's fine. And I think, but yeah, like for me, it's like, it's got to be that element of control. You know, it's like there's something of control going on podcasts, you know, it's like, what else can you be doing? And you know what? That's also another thing that I've kind of noticed is like a lot of people are not, I mean, there's a, you know, good chunk of people that are doing what they can, but I notice a lot of people, they just kind of sit and wait for it to happen. And whereas like you have your podcast, or I'm going on podcasts, and I'm like, okay, what else can be done? As someone who has run a business before, I'm like, I feel like there's more. Actually, my friend pointed this out yesterday, because right now, I mean, it's the beginning of February. I don't know when this is coming out, but it's like I have my body. My therapist pointed this out too. It's like my body is like ready for all this like adrenaline of tax season, because he's been doing that the last 10 years. And it's just like, and I don't know what to do with myself. So I'm just like doing all these things that I can control. And it's just like, and I'm just like, I there's no work, you know, it's like, it's just auditions. So
that is fascinating.
Yeah.
And makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And because it's a habit. You're used to it. Your body's ready. It's like it knows you're supposed to be running a marathon every tax season. It's like, hello, why are we not training?
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, it's weird. I didn't think about it. And then, my friend pointed out, she's like, you're like way off the rails right now. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not focusing on anything. Where it's like,
yes,
with those little things that you mentioned, you know, being in control, that like running a business, you have that control. And so doing the little things like tracking all my auditions, that's helping me do that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's weird because I was like, I don't know. I'm just like I feel like I'm going crazy. And then my therapist is like, no, your last 10 years, at this time of year, your brain has just been like, okay, cool. It's work mode time. You're going to do 700 clients right now.
And it's interesting because I was having this discussion about unstructured time with somebody and how I don't do well with time that isn't structured. And I've been in school, clinic, the operating room, everything, dance class, whatever, structured time since I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
And then suddenly there are days when I don't have anything and I'm looking for ways to structure my time, but also trying to get used to, I don't want to say freedom. That's very dramatic, but just being okay with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's totally the same thing where you're just like, okay, wait, there's nothing going on right now. You can't do it. Yeah, you sent out that self-tape, you know. Like, I'm sure, like, when you're on shift, it's like, they're like, yeah, you're working from here to here. When I had the accounting firm, it was like, I have these 5 meetings today. I can prepare in these ways. I've already sent me this. I know I have to ask them for this. Yeah, and like our whole lives are like that, We going like you said, going to school. It's like you're going to school from a certain time, but even in getting on set, it's like you're like, okay, cool, we need you here at 8 a.m. and then at 2 p.m. you'll be, acting for 15 minutes, and then you're gone. And then yeah, so yeah, it's so wildly different than anything else. Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that unstructuredness. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so, even though there is actually a structure, it's so different from, medical field and school and growing up and everything in society, stores have hours, and like if it's so wildly unstructured. Yeah.
Yeah.
Compared, even though it's like, we all understand this is the way it's supposed to, it goes. Yeah. Oh my God, that's wild. Yeah.
So do you have any advice for anyone who's interested in changing careers into acting?
Yeah, I think for me, it was a little bit more cut and dry because it was kind of, I had that past experience, but I think what I've told a bunch of people, and I'm thinking of like, that friend, that I mentioned before, Pedro, he usually told people like, don't. That's my advice. Don't. And then which was it made me feel nice because he like actually helped me. So yeah. What I've told a few people that have like even like a vague interest, I'm like, just take an acting class. You know, it's it'll give you a touch of what it's like, and if you're just like, yeah, this is not for me, or like, yeah, maybe I like this, then you can start getting yourself out there. Yeah, I mean, there's so many good acting classes around the city, that I feel, and like, there's a bunch that are remote too. I think one of my favorite acting classes I ever did was on Zoom, and it was like 3 days, and it was just with this guy from Australia, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's my advice, if I wanted to sum it up, would definitely be just try it. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah, maybe you literally don't know until you try it, right? And honestly, that's so much of what acting is like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to be embarrassed. And like, well, you have to kind of get over that embarrassment to be an actor, right? Because a lot of what we do is so rooted in just being embarrassed and like taking risks that, it's like, oh, okay, you're going to look stupid. But, it's only awkward if you make it awkward. So, yeah, I don't know. I think like the acting classes definitely help, especially with the right coach. It's like helps get over that hump.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, yeah, cool. Now, yeah, it's so. I don't know about you, but I find a lot of actors, like a lot of the acting oh my God, I couldn't, that was not a sentence. I find a lot of the acting community is very supportive. That's another thing I didn't have as a kid. I didn't have like a group of peers. Like now you can just go into an acting class and like you'll meet like 5 people that are all the same wavelength as you, you know? Like every time I've been on set and I talk to other actors, like I never feel like a weirdo. And I think that's a lot of what it is too. Like, I mean, you could feel like a weirdo in school or whatever, and then you find your tribe. And like for me, that was actors. But like, it was just, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's felt that way. But
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the only way to meet other actors is go to where they are, which is acting classes.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. And there's like experienced actors there too. So there's a lot of good like places to learn. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite on-set stories or on-set moments?
That's a good question. On-set moments. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of ones when I was a kid, because like those were always so much more interesting because there's just so many people around and you're just like, I don't know, everything is amazing, you know. No, I don't think I have like anything overly interesting. You meet some interesting people sometimes, but I don't want to dive too much into that. I've met some really cool people on set though. Like my friend Wyatt, him and I, we got really close. There was I'm not. The only thing is just like it's just like interesting people, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, okay. I don't know. I'm so focused on the work sometimes at on set. I'm just like, okay, cool. How do we do this? Nothing wild has happened. I mean, my favorite thing that's happened on set is when I was doing this horror TV show. It's not out yet. But I was doing it in October, and I don't know, we were just thinking of things to do because we got through the scene so fast, and like just whatever, they want more footage, and it was just some look I did when we were just doing some other footage, and like it took a second after they yelled cut, and like the crew laughed, and like even like the TOP just looked up from the camera, and he's like, "Oh my God!" It was just whatever look I did made them laugh, and I don't know, that felt really good.
Yeah,
I love comedy, so like making someone laugh is just like, oh wow, okay,
that's awesome.
Because you never really get that immediate gratification, except there's like. They're sort of plotting, and then it takes a second. You're like, "Oh, right, they just do that because you're leaving set."
Yeah,
so, like, thank God you're gone.
Yeah. And you're wrapped. Okay.
Yeah. You have to get over there. Like, oh, that wasn't like a good performance. Yeah,
they're like, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your parents at the beginning. How would they describe what you do for a living? Your parents, loved ones, guardians, whoever. Now.
I mean, I don't talk to my parents now. We don't have a relationship.
Okay.
But
I'll cut that out if you want.
No, I mean, that's fine. That's who I am. It's pretty, I wouldn't say it's public, but it's not something I really hide. I mean, I talk to my mom every now and then, but yeah, there were some differences that could not be resolved.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, I've had people just be like, oh yeah, Spencer's into acting now.
Into acting.
Yeah, or something like that. I don't know. That's always one of those weird ones.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Most people just have questions. Like, okay. Yeah. They're like, oh, what is that like? What do you do? I think. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They're like, oh man, now I'm trying to think of it. Like there's usually some good ones, and right now I'm just drawing a blank.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just like it's like a bunch of people. Yeah, like I mean, even when you go to like the bank, you have to tell them what you do, and they're like, "Oh, you're an actor," and they're like, "Oh, fuck yeah." Yeah, it's always the what are you working on? Like, how do you like? I think I have some family in Lithuania that's just like a little bit concerned because I don't have a job technically.
Right.
In their eyes anyway. It's like, I'm like, no, I'm fine. I sold my company. So yeah, I don't know how they describe it. That's interesting. I've never asked anyone like, what do you say about me? And, yeah.
Like at a cocktail party when they're like, oh yeah, that guy Spencer. Well, what does he do?
Yeah, I've had people just introduce me as an actor.
Nice.
I feel like, which is nice. Like I had to get over that with some friends. I'd be like, just say I'm an actor. Me, I was having this discussion with a good friend of mine is a booking agent for a bunch of major musical acts. And he was like trying to think of like different ways he could say that without being like, I'm a booking agent for, I don't even know who he books, but yeah, big people. And then it's like, how do you say you're an actor without, saying I'm an actor? So we came up with on-site literary execution.
Huh?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so that's like what we say now. I'm like, oh, he's in contracts and logistics. I just do on-site literary execution within film and TV. And they're just like, I don't know what that means. And you're like, yeah, that's right.
And honestly, how many times, I'd say probably 99% of people, sorry people, don't care. And so as soon as you say something they don't understand, they'll go, oh, cool. And then change the subject.
Yeah.
And you're like, perfect.
Great. I don't need to talk about
Conversation over. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the wildest things about, like, for example, Los Angeles, which is just like, at least the groups I was in, it's always like a bunch of creatives. And so sometimes you'll be in these mixed groups. People were like, they'll start like saying like, oh yeah, I work here. I work with this person. And then you get like these weird, I wouldn't say weird's probably the wrong word, but like, what threw me off is like when you start talking to people who work with like A-listers and then they won't even say a name. It's like, oh, I work for the person, that person nannies. And you're like the calculation meme. And you're like, what? Oh, yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's got to be like a goal of mine. I know it's a little bit of I'm digressing a little bit, but yeah, get down there. It felt so nice being around that many creative people because you don't get that, like you were saying, like so you can be more honest, I guess, around other creatives, around your peers, to touch on what we said earlier.
You're like your tribe, right? That's
totally
absolutely. What brought you to LA in the first place, like that trip?
The last trip I went to go, so a good friend of mine moved down there. So I wanted to see kind of like what his journey was. He moved there from Canada. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. I've talked to a few people who have done that and they've had I've talked to people who have had good experiences. I've talked to people who have bad experiences. So I wanted to see what that was all about. And I also work with a couple of people, like my personal trainers down there. I'm his least famous client, which I, like,
yes.
Sometimes I talk to him. Yeah. For now. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I talk to him like, why are you talking to me? Like, I don't understand why you pick up the phone. Why when I call, but
he's like, oh, it just brings me back down to hang out with civilians.
You're my humbleness. Yeah.
You're the normies I hang out with. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, he's like the nicest guy in the world. But,
I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went down to we had never met, so I wanted to go visit him. I just wanted to go see my friend who was living down there, who had recently down there, and I don't know. I guess that's the goal for a lot of actors is get down there. And if I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, that's the hub,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially now that they're doing all in-person stuff and also it's the elusiveness of I have 2.5 passports. So it's that's the one place I can't work.
Yeah.
Really? So I'm I want to see what this is like down here. Also just see the vibe generally. It's a place I had never been, and I had an opportunity to stay on someone's couch, and I regret that now because I forgot I'm in my 30s and not my 20s. And it's back hurts so much.
Congratulations, you'll have back pain for the rest of your life now.
He's you could, and then on the last day, of course, that's when I found out it was a pull-out couch and I could have slept on a mattress. And it was he's yeah, I would have told you, but you didn't ask, so I thought you were comfortable. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
No, I was just rambling because I just, it's that thing that was we're not in person, so I'm having trouble reading. I'm like, when's a good cutoff part here?
No,
so I
it's
just
all good.
keep talking.
All good.
I also got trained in radio when I was younger. So it's just like that not dead air thing.
Ooh, and also, if we both have like radio training, we're probably, because I was taught, again, when you're interviewing someone, you just take a breath after they stop talking so you don't talk over them. So if you're both doing that, nobody will ever talk.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, don't give dead air. Just keep going. And
if there's dead air, I'll edit it out.
Yeah, I know. But it's just like, this is my own brain is like, no, you need to keep talking. And
keep talking.
I mean, this is like an age thing, maybe. It's like, we're just not, I'm sure like someone who's younger could probably get it. Yeah, just go edit.
I think the age thing is part of it, because I think elder millennials, I think we're peacekeepers. Because, like, I don't know, the generation above us is really yelly and angry, and the generation below us is really yelly and angry for some very good reasons. They are angry at each other.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll graduate into that and we'll be angry at the generation below, right? The two below us.
Yeah.
But I don't know, we're just kind of stuck in the middle. So I just feel like I'm like the kid of divorced parents being like, gonna keep talking because I have anxiety.
We're also just tired.
Yeah, we're tired. Yes, I am very fatigued.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you are looking forward to coming up this year?
Oh my God. It's so fun. There was so much of this. What we're talking about is like so much of what I was talking about on the weekend with some of the actor friends.
Yeah.
And they're like, one of them was like, you got to calm down. Because like I have like 3 big auditions out there right now, and like you're just waiting on those, and I don't know, it's like she's like, it's February, like it's fucking February, you need to, like, you've done so many auditions already, you need to calm down, like this is good, it's gonna happen, you just need to wait. Like I know, but it goes back to that whole like, I'm not in control right now, I have all this adrenaline going. So looking forward to, I don't know. I'm looking forward to like just really getting into some bigger stuff and like finding a good niche for myself for now. And then started working on a few projects with some friends of mine, like some writer friends of mine. I personally, I found out in the last couple of years that I probably have some sort of learning disability where it makes me communicating via written word very difficult. So I have to work with other writers. I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. They're like, okay, cool. So where's the middle part of that? Because I just have, this thing is just like where my brain just stops, like skips.
Yeah.
What I want to say. And then I'm like, oh yeah, just like my brain already made the connection. So I can't say it as fast. But so I don't know. We're working on a few things. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to having something to talk about.
Yeah. I think finding your tribe of people to work on stuff allows people who have, I don't know, we pathologize everything these days, learning disabilities, neurodivergence, creative brains, brains that go a mile a minute. When everyone all works together, that's when cool stuff happens. That's literally like the definition of creativity. When you have all these people whose ideas, you got the beginning and the end, you've got no middle, somebody over here has a middle. Like, everyone understands. And I think that's so unique to the creative space. Yeah. It's like, this sounds so corny, but like there's room for everybody at this table. But there truly is, because you need everyone.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, someone, oh my God, who was it? An actor friend, hundreds, said it is like, if you look like something, there's a role out there for you. There's always a role out there for you. Which is interesting. Yeah. There is enough room at the table, and there's a character for everybody, especially if we start including stuff, like I'm a redhead. So the thing I found, the thing I found for men anyway, there's no like positive portrayals of redheaded men. So, I mean, that's something I want to work on. Yeah, there's usually like the bully or the villain.
Or the Weasley.
Or the best friend, whatever. Yeah, the Weasley. I actually played Ron Weasley in this thing.
Of course you did.
But yeah.
If you hadn't, I'd be like, why haven't you?
Yeah. It was actually, it was when the fourth book came out. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but fourth book came out. J.K. Rowling did a reading at the then called Skydome and hired a bunch of actors to play the characters in the books. And I did Ron Weasley.
Shut up.
Yeah. I met her and everything. Yeah. Yeah. I had never read the books. So at that time, yeah.
That is so
I didn't have
cool.
a beard then. Yeah.
Remember when I asked you about your coolest on-set story?
Yeah, that wasn't on set. That was like, yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Semantics.
Right. Okay, yeah.
That is very, very cool.
Okay.
That's extremely cool.
I'll use that for the next time someone asks me.
Yeah, okay.
After that. I'll be like, yeah, so Janet, yeah.
Said I should use this, yeah.
Yeah, like...
Wow.
Yeah.
So you didn't just play Ron Weasley in like a student film. You played Ron Weasley.
Or J.K. Rowling, yeah.
Jeez.
And it was like the movie had already been shot or something, the first one. So I think it hadn't, like, that was up, yeah.
I see. Interesting.
There was like no potential for me to even be in the movie, but yeah. But yeah, no, okay, cool. That's my coolest on-set story then.
Yes, it is.
You can edit that in and put it back, yeah.
Until you have another one.
Right.
And there will be.
Oh, I'm hoping so. That's what I'm hoping for this year.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to do a lot of that, like give some positive portrayals. I think the one, I mean, I referenced Futurama earlier, but yeah, I mean, like Fry, he's kind of like, is the hero of the story. He gets the girl, saves the world a few times. He's kind of a dope, but I mean, whatever. It's like, yeah, that was, I don't know. It was really cool for me when I was a kid. I saw I was like, oh, that's me. Yeah.
It's you. Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I get when, people talk about like showing more on screen, but I mean, it's also, I think this acting coach once said to me, it's like, if you have those diverse roles, it's a lot easier. It's not as important who your agent is. So like if you're looking for someone who is, has, okay, let's see. This is Disney movie coming out. I think I auditioned for it. And, I don't know. There's like, if you need some representation of like a disability or something, it's easier to find that because there's less of that. Whereas like for you and I, the industry is so, just oversaturated isn't the right word, but there's a very dominant, obvious dominance of white people in this industry. So it's very important as a white person to have a good agent who's going to get you in front of like these people. Cause like there's so many of us and then it's just like, okay, yeah. Which is, I found that super interesting. Yeah. So like, but like you can, especially as someone, if there's someone who has, a disability or, something that's like, it's easier for them to get in front of these because like the casting director, once they have that, then once they're looking for that role, they'll find you, which is great. It's amazing. It's so nice for them. But yeah, I don't know. I'm tangenting, Nick.
All good. All good.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words of wisdom or advice?
Final words? I'm trying to think. I had something for this too.
Take your time.
Just do it, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I just try to think about all the things that I say to myself, try to get me through everything. It's a difficult industry. It's hard. To stick with it, Yeah, I think that's probably it. Just stick with it. You'll find it. Even if you have to take a break. Like, I mean, I don't regret taking my break. If I had kept going, I probably would have been a working actor, but I probably would have been a very different person. And, I probably would have been a bit of a shithead, if I'm going to be totally honest. Yeah. I think running my own business humbled me. Maybe that's something. Keep your receipts. That's my word of advice, Make your accountant's life easier.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you, Spencer, for being my guest this week. It has been so awesome getting to know you, but also witnessing your acting journey since we met and recorded this podcast. I am so thrilled for you. You work so hard and deserve everything that's coming your way. As all of us do, right? Ugh, so wonderful. I hope you will all tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye.